Why Nothing Feels Exciting Anymore by Johnny Harris.
How to buy the best maps in 2025. You're doing it wrong. You're still using this to navigate life. Embarrassing.
Yeah, bro, we're all goon brain.
I'm so bored right now, and I truly hate the way it feels. You're probably bored too. You clicked on this video trying to feel less bored, and all you've got is a guy scrolling on his phone alone in a room. Here, let me see if I can help with that.
Every day.
Is this better?
Yep.
Good. It's not just you and me. It's everyone.
Bro, this is dopamine crack. Like, when the fucking Chinese government released this, when they put these videos on TikTok that were straight of somebody talking and then one side just playing games, bro, I was hooked. My brain was milked. Bro, this shit was like peak dopamine, bro.
Boredom is on the rise, even at a time when we're in the golden age of content. Boredom isn't simple. It's not trivial. It's not benign. It's actually a painful emotion that quietly haunts our sense of meaning and purpose. It's more like pain or disgust. We've been going deep on this. There's a lot of great new science. My producer Alex read like 5 books on the topic. In all of this literature,
why are you reading 2 books at once? Why you gotta flex on us like that, bro? It's crazy work. Bro, motherfuckers just want to give any aura chance they got. Like, they just want to get it, bro. Like, that's just farming for it, bro.
My producer Alex.
This is just farming. Like, what are you doing holding 2? I know damn well you keeping up with 1 book, but why do you got 2 books? Why are you doing this to me, bro? Just straight aura farming, bro. This is not real.
Topic. In all of this literature, I am starting to see a clear story that explains why all of us are more bored than ever. But I'm also seeing something that I didn't expect, something that's quietly hidden within the feeling of boredom. How this really unpleasant feeling, boredom, might actually be key to living a more purposeful, creative life.
Let me hear about it, brother.
Your life is like a road trip. Stick with me while I build this analogy because it's actually really useful for understanding the real meaning of boredom. It's a road trip in the dark. In this analogy, the most important parts are, first off, your headlights. This is your attention, your ability to pay attention and what you pay attention to. And the second most important part is this fuel tank. We're gonna look at this a lot. This represents your sense of meaning and purpose.
I like this.
It helps motivate you, pushes you along.
This is a good analogy. Hey, Calvin Harris does be having some. Is this how do you say his name? Johnny Harris, not Calvin Harris. My fault, boys.
Your life. Attention and meaning are vital for how humans navigate their lives, how they make decisions on where to go with the constraints of their everyday experience. These determine the route that you take on this road trip. So, you're going along your life, you're taking turns, you're making decisions on how to spend your time. You spend time with friends, you pay attention to this, and look, your tank is filling up with meaning and purpose. For a lot of us, friendship is fuel. You go for a walk, maybe in nature, you listen to music. That is meaningful to you. Maybe you watch a good movie, you shine your attention on that, and that is actually pretty fulfilling. But life is heavy and hard, and sometimes your fuel runs out. Your attention fractures or fades, and then this happens. Lights out. This is boredom, the state where your sense of purpose and meaning is on empty, and consequently you don't really have the ability to muster the energy to pay attention to something that would change the situation. Real quick, before we go on, have you noticed that one way you might cure your boredom is email? Knocking out a few emails makes you feel productive, doesn't take that much work, because it collects and they may do any 100. That's very rich. Search sites that /60% get added to today's video. Thing that I've learned so do this work with researching this is that boredom is not this trivial, mundane feeling.
Had to get out of it.
It's actually a pretty strong emotional experience, and it kind of sucks.
I define boredom as meaning withdrawal, as a sense of discomfort telling you that your need for personal meaning is not being met.
your brain's way of telling you need to change what you're doing because what you're doing is unsatisfying. You find it hard to focus.
And that feeling of like, I can't do anything about this. I don't have any, agency here. Or what's the meaning of all of this? You're just kind of stuck there.
What's the
I'd say
meaning
that
of
the
life?
experience of boredom is an experience of unfreedom, an experience of being trapped in the present without meaning.
Time seems to slow.
You're in a situation where I don't care about this. This really doesn't stimulate me in any way.
Tolstoy described boredom as like a desire of desires.
I also remember a friend of mine. He worked with the postal services when we were students, and his job was to take mail bags and turn them inside out to see if there was any letters remaining in there. And one day he told me, yesterday at work, I just started weeping. I mean, this was the myth of Sisyphus, the eternal recurrence of the same. There is no end to it. There would always be another mailbag coming in that would have to be turned inside out. No progression, just the same over and over again. And he started weeping at work. Though being a good Protestant, he continued to turn mailbags inside out while he was weeping.
For me, this happens usually on a Saturday at like 3 p.m. This is when my kids are occupied playing with friends or playing Nintendo or whatever. I have time. I usually don't have time. But Saturday at 3 p.m., I have precious free time that I don't get during the week. And I have all this stuff that I want to do. But then this emotion just hits me. This feeling that I don't really want to do anything. Like I can't really muster the motivation to do any of it. And suddenly things get really dark for me. I start to question everything. I start to question my life choices. I'm angry at myself for not doing things that I know some part of me wants to do. I'm wondering if I've made the right life choices. So I know this feeling well, but before reporting this story, I never called it boredom. I kind of thought it was like some flash of depression or restlessness, or maybe it was my ADD or something. Boredom always just felt like this thing that like there's nothing to do and so I'm bored, but that's actually not what's happening here.
Many would call it an emotional state that has cognitive and physiological correlates.
Boredom is the feeling of thinking. It's an affective response to underutilization of our capacities, of our cognitive skills, right? So when you're bored, you're having that affective reaction to the fact that you're not using your brain as well as you could be.
So yeah, boredom is an emotion and it's very uncomfortable. But luckily, I've got a very quick little medicine that is in my pocket at all times. It's not in my pocket right now. Uh-oh, where's my little medicine? It's a small computer device that was probably made in China or India, and it's got software on it that numbs my boredom. Some people call it a phone, but a phone is a thing that was invented like 100 years ago where people...
The iPhone is like the best way to cure any boredom.
Oh, here she is. She was here the whole time. Ah, my precious.
Now with the latest nuclear missile test conducted just hours.
About 3 years ago, I was cooking rice in my kitchen. We tested different questions. And some people would say, well, that's
Establishes.
Oh, man, I love TikTok and all short form video that I consume to cure my boredom. And to be clear, this video will critique all of this and tell us about how the brain is...
His necklace makes me feel a little weird, bro. His necklace feels like a choker. Is he wearing a choker, bro? Why he got a choker on?
Messed up with some of the stuff, but boy, it's fun while it lasts. Anyway,
looks like he's got
this
a
device
choker
is
on.
very useful for curing my
and
boredom.
this angle on top of him is just crazy. Pause.
And I use it Saturdays at 3 p.m. when I'm feeling bored. And yes, later I will show you the studies that unpack boredom and phone use. But for now, I was actually curious if other people experience this the way I do, because it's a deeply personal and emotional experience. And so I asked my team.
So I usually get bored when I get home from work and I've done all of the things that I wanted to do, like eat dinner, hang out with friends, go to the gym, do a hobby.
Boredom is when you have no personality outside of work.
I get this really uncomfortable feeling, which is boredom. That's this like existential gut punch. And I think about, what am I doing with my life? And I want to crawl out of my own skin. Typically I will numb it with TikTok or playing video games. But sometimes I will sit in the discomfort and think about my life. But that is a lot more work and exhausting interesting.
Ironically, though, I have noticed that I find my phone to be a sort of boring replacement for the boredom. There's this sort of instant gratification with social media that feels like it's
anytime
the addictive version
you're on
of
TikTok,
boredom.
it's like scratching your little
kind of scary.
Like itch for boredom, for sure.
Okay, before we get back to the car analogy,
like
which is very good and very useful, I promise, I want to explain what I've learned about why. Why does boredom even exist inside of our brains? And it turns out that it's actually a very natural biological signal that we developed a long time ago. What's happening when we're bored is a bunch of brain regions are coming together to tell us that we need to do something different with our situation. One of the defining traits of human beings is that we are restless. We need purpose and meaning to fuel our actions. And this has been one way that humans have been pushed to create and change their natural situation, not just for more resources like all animals do, but also in search of meaning. We're these self-aware apes who are able to tell stories of meaning and purpose to each other. And we ourselves are kind of characters in our own story. It's a major reason why humans have been able to cooperate in large numbers with each other, looking towards stories like corporations or religions or countries. All of these are meaningful stories that bind us together to cooperate and change our situation. So a lot of experts now think that boredom is this emotional cue that is pushing us to do something different with our lives, to deliver on that need for meaning. But boredom today is pretty different. In fact, in the old days, most people didn't have time to get bored.
It's typical for traditional societies that you don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what to care about because it's already defined for you.
Let's do one of my favorite things and rewind and see what my little road trip analogy would have looked like if I lived 500 years ago. So I'm a farmer. Most of us would have been farmers, FYI. And I spend most of my time working on the farm because if I don't, my family and I will die. So my attention is locked into kind of one high stakes activity that defines my life. Let's look down at my
price
meaning
of freedom. The price of freedom.
Purpose fuel tank. Oh, whoa. It's doing great.
Boredom is the price of freedom, bro.
And look, you can see why. Here on the farm, my sense of purpose and meaning flows in abundance from my family, my belonging to a community in which I was born that has well-defined culture and rituals that my ancestors have been doing for thousands of years, and perhaps most of all, I have a clear existential story in the form of religion. This makes death and suffering not so bad, and it fills me with a bigger purpose. This stuff is like rocket fuel for our sense of meaning and belonging and purpose. Now, it doesn't mean life was easy, not at all, but it does mean that we didn't get bored. We didn't have time to get bored, and we didn't have any lack of meaning and purpose. It was all kind of automated for us by our culture.
I think that the experience of boredom was certainly there in traditional or pre-modern societies, but it really gains traction in modernity.
The word has maybe not been around as long as we might imagine, but that doesn't mean that the concept and the experience and the feeling isn't ancient.
Boredom was more of a privilege for those who were at the royal courts, the clergy, and so on.
Rich aristocrats were the rare human beings that had time on their hands. The other group were monks who had quite a bit of time before the rest of us. And in fact, they had a word to describe this feeling of boredom, called it akadia, a lack of motivation to fulfill your purpose, or in this case, your duties to God. Christians would frame this early concept of boredom as a dangerous sin that could kill your faith. They would nickname it the noonday demon, the most dangerous of all the demons because from boredom stemmed many other sinful behaviors.
Yeah.
And they were kind of onto something,
I've heard
as
of
we will
this.
see in the scientific literature.
Your grandma tells you, empty mind is the mind of the devil, Boredom is the devil.
Very soon. French monks updated the interpretation to a desire to escape the present, a tiredness, and a hunger for variety. But then you get to like the 1600s and things start to change, at least in Europe, as people move to cities. They're working in factories, they're doing repetitive work, they have less and less freedom and autonomy and purpose, and they're getting bored.
The words for boredom in different languages, for the most part, they pop up in the 17th century, around there in most languages.
You can see this in like the people who've tracked all the etymology and these words that have been used in different languages.
Etymology.
Here's the usage in Spanish over time. Here it is in French, German, and here it is in English. People start to use the verb bore as a verb in letters and literature in the late 1700s, back when London looked like this.
needed words to describe an emotion that had become quite a lot more
Motherfuckers.
common. In modernity, boredom
Have
became
chillin'.
available for everybody. It became democratized.
Okay, the history part's over. Now let's look at this part of the graph, this rise. Boredom is surging, and kind of weird because it's surging at a time when we have like more amazing, exciting experiences and content to watch than ever before. That is the mystery at the heart of
That's
this
true,
video.
bro. You ever had like that itch to just keep watching TikToks because any of the last TikToks hasn't scratched the itch? It's like a fucking drug addiction when you're on TikTok, bro. It gives you that first dose of heroin, but then after that, you just gotta keep getting more. Ready it up, brother.
And one I promise I will answer before we are done. Okay, well, one thing is for certain. My life does not look like this anymore. We're not on the farm anymore, filled with meaning from our culture and religion. First off, our map is kind of full of way more possibilities. We're not just going in one predetermined path. I have a million possible routes. And look at my purpose fuel tank down here. I've lost some very important sources of meaning. I don't have religion anymore.
It's like the possibilities are so endless nowadays, bro. It's hard to make a decision. It's like, you go to McDonald's, if they had like 72 options, bro, it'd just be too hard to pick. So you have like the first 3 that you see, you just go with those. Because, bro, like if you have too many options, it's hard to just like pick one because you don't want to pick the wrong one,
Which is a huge hit to my sense of purpose and higher meaning.
TikTok's
I'm a transplant in a big city, in a highly individualistic country.
Bro, they got the algorithm by the ball, bro. It's the biggest psyop in the world, bro. They got you by the fucking balls. They'll give you exactly what you want to watch. You want to watch drug talk where they're taking you through all kinds of just fucking crazy drugs in the world. You want to watch fucking criminal talk. If you want to watch fucking hippy dippy talk, if you want to watch like some political talk, I've curated my algorithm now to just like big booty Latinas, but you can have any kind of TikTok you want because, bro, the algorithm is the psyop.
So I don't have anywhere near the sense of community and old culture that my ancestors had. This may be different for you if you live in a small town in Europe or Vietnam and you are continuing traditions that your ancestors did. My ancestors left their traditions and came to a new world to start new. So
yes.
Yeah, I lost that part. Now, I do have family.
I do feel that when I went to London, bro, I did feel like a lot of people got traditions. They're like, oh, we do this because we just do it like this. We've been doing it like this for 100 years. Like some of the bars, they've never changed for over 50, 60 years. So I'm like, dude, there is something to tradition vibes, it gives you a sense of belonging.
A massive source of very deep meaning for me. But if I want to fill my tank with meaning, I gotta kind of do it on my own. I have to create my own sense of purpose and meaning, which, to be clear, is a really great thing. Like, I get to determine how I live my life, how I raise my kids, what I do religiously or not religiously, community, and what people I invite into my community. That sense of freedom is wonderful. My point here is that a lot of us don't have our sense of meaning and purpose sort of automated for us like our ancestors did. And that is a major reason why we get bored. Oh, and not to mention that our meaning tanks are now much larger and our expectations kind of full all of the time.
We expect, or could perhaps even say demand, that life should be filled to the brim with meaning at all occasions. We have very little tolerance for these gaps of emptiness in our existence in which nothing really happens. We're having trouble dealing with those.
Pair that with the fact that there's been an assault on my attention abilities thanks to all these flashing buttons and viral videos, and you can see why sometimes this happens.
Flashbang.
The car goes dark. It's 3 p.m. on a Saturday, and I'm stuck. I don't have the attention and the purpose to go anywhere. I'm bored, and it feels pretty horrible. Okay, this is the most important part of the video, I would say, because I just spent all this time giving you the history, building this car analogy, but the car analogy really starts to like pay off from here forward. And this is the part of the video where we see how boredom can be good, how this can actually be
necklace has got to go.
thing.
I know, bro. It's a little, it's a little bit of a choker. It's a little weird. I don't know. He's got a weird necklace. I'm not lying to you, chat. It's just like a weird necklace, bro. It just looks like a choker, bro.
Most important thing for helping you live a more meaningful life. So let me show you. Okay, so I'm bored. I'm stuck without meaning and the ability to pay attention to anything. And for those who need a quick 45-second grounding in the actual neuroscience so that you don't think I'm just winging it with this analogy, here it goes. When scientists put people in a room and make them watch a boring video like this one of two guys hanging laundry, the participants' brains look like this. I should have printed it in color, but probably seen it in color on your video. Lucky you. Boredom. That's what your brain looks like when you're bored. It activates all of these regions that are associated with daydreaming, mind wandering, and thinking about the past and future. Nostalgia. Something I'm very into, actually. Look at this. This is a brain
nostalgia hurts.
that is in big picture mind wandering mode. Default mode network is technically what it's called. But if you go deeper into the center of the brain, you will see that the part of the brain that drives me to pay attention, to make decisions, is anti-correlated. It's kind of turned off. It's not in sync. So I'm feeling all nostalgic about my life story and the meaning behind everything, but it's paired with this inability to channel my attention, to make decisions that are meaningful to me. Learning all of this was actually very helpful for me to understand why my 3 p.m. Saturday boredom is so existential feeling. It actually feels really terrible. I start to question everything. I'm thinking about my past, my future. I now understand why. Now, there's way more science and study on this. I'm gonna leave all the sources in the sources doc that is in the description. But just know that my car analogy is grounded in all of this. Let's get back to the car. So we're here in the dark car, we're bored, we're out of gas. Now let's look what people do when they're in this state. You can do a few things. Number one is you can become really mean. On the relation of boredom and sadistic aggression. It's a great paper. So one cure for boredom is sadism, defined here as harming others for pleasure. For some reason, the moment you decide to do harm, freaky, huh? Look what happens to your car. It revs back up. And weirdly, our purpose tank gets really full. Our attention fires up. Our car is running again. We turn down this sketchy road where we snap at our partner or yell at our kids with the intent to hurt them. We get online and we start stirring people up. We make them angry with bad faith critiques, trying to inflame them, trying to hurt them. This is one that I'm familiar with. Not doing it, but receiving it.
That's like half of the internet trolls right here.
Fuel tank. It is full to the brim. So the monks were right. There is a noonday demon within boredom. The way this looks in the studies is that they put people at a table with worms and a coffee grinder. Bored people are more likely to take these worms and grind them up in the coffee grinder for no other reason other than to cure their boredom. And they even gave these worms names to humanize them so that it would kind of seem even more cruel. Names like Toto, Tifi, Kiki. Oh, and if you're concerned about the worms, the coffee grinders were fake. The worms didn't actually die, but the participants didn't know that. In other studies, bored people are more likely to take away money from random people that they don't even know. Not because they gained anything, just because they were bored, and being mean helped take the edge off. Now these studies do have some caveats, like some people
literally motherfuckers just be doing shit for the plot, bro. That's why drama sells.
Propensity to be bored, or some people have a higher propensity to be sadistic. But even controlling for that, when you and I, all of us, the general person is bored, we are more likely to engage in sadistic behavior, to harm others for pleasure. I mean, this is kind of well known. You see headlines every once in a while of destructive, terrible things that have happened because, quote, someone was bored. A search for meaning and a lack of mobility to create that meaning leads people to turn to destruction, sometimes self-destruction. There's one study where people will sit around and instead of just sit and be bored, they will zap themselves, hurt themselves.
What the fuck?
Even when the only option is
we got motherfuckers that are freaks.
That's potentially harmful to you, you'll go ahead and do it anyway. As a
they be trying to give freaky.
This can manifest in other kinds of self-harm for people who are bored, who are looking for a physical sensation to help distract them from the very uncomfortable mental pain that comes with boredom. It has the function to avoid or escape from aversive emotional experiences. Okay, but this is the dark side of boredom. You have another choice. Here's the hopeful side of boredom. Rewind the clock, get me back to being bored in that dark car before the trolling and being mean to my kids and partner began. Here we go. We're stuck here. Instead of revving your car up with that demonic fuel that we just saw, you can do the much harder thing. You can get out of the car and push it. You you can push it down a road that you know contains some meaningful
getting them gym workouts
Here I am
in.
pushing mine towards going on a walk in nature. It's actually a lot of effort. I do not want to do this by definition because I am bored. I am manually pushing it. But as I push, my mind is kind of in this big picture place. Remember the default mode network? I'm thinking about the past and the future, about the meaning of my life. I'm feeling things and reading my thoughts in a way that I usually don't get to. And look what happens when I get close. This worked. My car fires back up, and yes, it took some effort, but my purpose.
Everybody should go on a good, peaceful, long walk to find themselves. You know, that's a good walk around a body of water. You really find yourself for real. You know, you gotta do it once a month, maybe once in a long while. We're going like an hour long walk, bro. I did it a lot in California. It was fun, bro, just walking. It was a good, fun walk, bro. It just sometimes lets your, pilgrimage genes get, affected. It gets your pilgrimage genes calmed down,
Really not. My attention and my ability to keep it is flickering back on. I'm going back to things that bring me purpose without having to harm anyone. And in fact, the benefit of all of this is I'm now more in touch with my sense of meaning and purpose because I've had to sit with it. I've had to struggle through not feeling it and contemplate what meaning is for me. What do I actually want to do with my life? So I get back in the car and I'm rethinking my route on this map, what turns I want to take. And to stretch this analogy even further, I'm stronger. I'm stronger because I got out and pushed my car. So like my muscles are stronger. Next time I get bored, I have the mental muscles to push through. And this is why
that's why you start gooning twice a day, 7 days a week. My muscles for boredom will be stronger next week. But right now, I have to goon.
Some studies, not all, demonstrate a statistically significant correlation between boredom and creativity. Being bored makes you
spend
more creative,
all day in the shit. So
which gets to answering another question I've had for a long time,
being,
which is
like going camping nowadays is so much more fun. Going fishing, like just being out in nature, being a real hippie, letting your feet touch the grass, touch some grass,
why some cultures have entire concepts that embrace this idea of boredom. Il dolce far niente is an Italian phrase that translates into the sweetness of doing nothing. The Dutch have this word niksen, I think that's how you say it, which is like the verb to nothing. The practice of intentionally embracing a state of boredom and seeing the benefits from it. There's an entire religion or spiritual tradition, I guess, Taoism, that is dedicated to embracing non-action in the name of realigning your actions in harmony with your values. And remember, our biology gave us boredom for a reason. It is a very important part of being humans who are driven by meaning and who are always looking for ways to chase after what is meaningful to them.
Living with it, dealing with it, actually creates a space in which you can actually have an encounter with yourself. You can actually be in your own company and not just the company of everybody else.
Okay, but I always get annoyed when people conclude that the answer is to embrace the discomfort and just embrace it, and that's as simple as it can be. I'm not going to do that because in this case, I think there are actual tips that I think are helping me as I practice them, and that could help you too. And it is not become more enlightened and embrace Taoism. That might work for you, but for the rest of us, we are putting together a guide of tips on how to manage boredom, and I will get to that in a sec. But first, I want to show you the last really important part of this. The answer to why we've got this graph. Boredom is on the rise, not just here, but kind of in lots of different countries. It's sort of a paradox because we're at a time of life where there's more exciting content and experiences and freedom and opportunity than ever before. Why is this happening? Well, we've already answered part one of that, which is we have less inherent meaning in our lives because we've moved away from some of these collective sources of meaning like religion, community, ritual, etc. But the other part is something you're also probably very familiar with. Let me show you. Okay, let's get back to the bored, dark car, clear out all this wholesome meaning stuff. Let's get back to one more scenario of what we can do when I'm sitting here questioning my existence. I've got this other option, and damn, it's a good option.
I do that quite often. Questioning my existence, that's a daily activity. That's like journaling,
Oh, and before you think I'm going to get all judgy and start condemning you for using your phone or watching Netflix, I'm not. That would be dumb. I'm not going to do that. This is our lives. I'm literally a person who makes content for the internet. I'm addicted to social media and TV just like you are. That's fine. I'm not a zealot and I'm not going to judge anyone. But now that I've read all the literature, I do want to let you in on what happens when the phone and the scrolling turns into our medicine for boredom. Okay, the car's back on. We're moving. Let's look at the meaning tank here. Okay, so it's Saturday, 3 p.m. I'm bored, but look, my car's back on. Scrolling some YouTube shorts here, and
it's like driving an electric. If you use your phone, it's like driving an electric in this whole scenario.
The tank isn't full, but there's enough for the car to go. But wait, something's off here. Oh, look, my attention headlights aren't even working. They're not pointed at the road. I can't really tell where I'm going. Ah, I see why. All my attention power is being used to power my phone. This is what I am paying attention to. So my car is driving, I'm moving, but I'm sort of just driving in a straight line. There's kind of a sense of meaning and entertainment, but I get the sense that I'm not totally choosing this as I scroll.
The ungodly algorithm of TikTok.
Oh yes, look over here. I've pressed cruise control, autopilot. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not an internet troll. I'm not in that demonic mode. I'm not on some sketchy street somewhere. But I'm also not using boredom to do the hard work of reassessing my route. I'm just going straight.
Yeah, when I'm just like annoying people, I'm gonna just call it demon time.
Which again is fine. Like after a week of work, I'm not interested in like reassessing my life. I want to decompress. I want to hit cruise control and I want to sit back and I want to passively be given a sense of meaning about the story that I'm watching on Netflix or the Instagram, whatever. That is a way that we decompress. Stories. People have been doing it forever. I know I've said this, but the last thing we need is more judgy energy around this stuff. But what happens if phones and scrolling become the medicine I use every time I'm bored? Well, there are good studies around this now. First, what they're finding, unsurprisingly, is that people are more and more using their phones to cure the feeling of boredom. I mean, yeah, that makes total sense. You're bored waiting for a train or whatever, you pull out your phone. What this means is that you never get out to push your car. You never sit in the default mode network and push your car and assess your life.
It's hard.
And do the uncomfortable thing
It's hard.
Thinking big about
sitting
the future
there
and past.
quietly
This
in
cruise
the
control
awkward
is kind of like a
silence.
nice
It's
morphine drip
hard.
into our purpose tank. We don't ever need to get out and push the car and do the big mind-wandering thing that leads us sometimes to more creative or meaningful actions. And according to this one study, what they're finding is that evidence shows that digital media, rather than reducing our boredom or like satiating it, it actually increases it. So to push our analogy to its absolute limits, not only does the phone never give us a chance to break down and reassess our route, but it actually makes us more likely to break down. It's as if the fuel that we get from this is like this radioactive goo that creates a leak in our fuel tank. So it runs out quicker and we break down more often. We get bored more often, which in turn leads us to grab our phone to satiate or get rid of our boredom. Psychologists call this a vicious cycle between boredom and phones. Now look, I knew phones were addictive. I've read all the stuff, the dopamine, all that. We all know this is happening. But I didn't know this when I got into this story. I didn't realize this natural psychological cue called boredom that has a lot to do with my mind's ability to make meaning and purpose is being totally messed with because of my propensity to grab the phone to like cure it, which makes me more likely to get bored, which makes me more likely to grab my phone. Like I didn't realize that existed, and it's actually blowing my mind.
It's like a crack cycle.
To recap, you get bored, you have three options. Go down the demonic route, start to hurt people and be mean. Go down the constructive route, do the hard work of sitting with it, let your mind drift into broad, creative, nostalgic thinking, even though it's uncomfortable. Or take the middle road, turn on cruise control, and take neither route. Kind of numb the whole system. The last question I want to try to answer, or start to answer, is, okay, so what do we do?
Opium.
This exists. Phones aren't going away. I'm not getting rid of my phone anytime soon. How do I manage boredom in a modern world? That's the last section of this video.
The ultimate
So if you clicked on this video because you wanted to learn about the history and neuroscience of boredom, and you yourself have no interest in figuring out how to manage your own boredom, then now is the time for you to click away and go find something else to do. The rest of us I want to take the rest of this video to go through some really specific tips that I've been practicing and exploring and that the research points to as ways that we can manage our boredom. It'll all be documented in the link in the description, so you don't even have to watch this. You can just click that and read through it briefly. But for those who want, let me talk you through it. Number one, look at it. I'm not going to go all new age on you, but I am going to say that the most effective, most powerful, subtle thing that you can do is recognize what it feels like to be bored the next time you're bored. Try to notice your mind going into a more existential mode where you're thinking about the past and the future. At first, it's just going to feel like a jumble and a cloud of uncomfortable feeling. But with time, even if you just take a minute before you intervene and do anything, just to notice, you will refine that sense of being able to see the boredom. Oh, and you kind of have to do this without judging it, like without like getting down on yourself. Just like let it happen, look at it. There's actually a ton of science around this very simple technique that is called mindfulness. It applies to all kinds of mental experiences, but it really applies to this boredom situation. There's a million ways to formally practice this, like a million apps, Headspace, the Waking Up app with Sam Harris, a million YouTube videos, whatever. But you can also just informally try it out next time you're having an uncomfortable feeling. Try to look at it instead of avoid it. Number two, and this is also going to sound kind of new agey, but I promise it's also very useful, is work on accepting it. Meaning going through the process of, instead of trying to avoid it, embracing it and saying, this is what is happening right now. And even saying, this is what helps for me, is like, this is actually a good thing. This is my body telling me something about my life. I'm going to actually try to accept it instead of trying to resist it.
The $64,000 question about boredom that everybody wants to know.
Why do they got a specific number on that?
Eliminate it. And there are lots of different responses to that. I think the first one is to say you can't eliminate it. Boredom, if it's something that plays a role in your life, if it's functional, then you don't want to get rid of it, right? Because you want that function.
Another way to put this is relax into it. Relaxation is kind of the opposite of boredom in some ways. Relaxation is an acceptance
waking
of
up
non-action.
is decent. The waking up app is decent.
I've never
used
brain
it.
scans and I think of like
what
the
do you do
nostalgic,
with it?
like thinking about the past and the future, and try to say like, oh, my brain is going through this like default mode network thing, and that's kind of cool. I'm gonna just relax into it instead of like judge myself that I'm like feeling it. Okay, so those are the first kind of micro actions that you can take inside of your mind next time you feel bored. And those sort of set the stage for managing your boredom. If you do those two, then you will be in a better place to engage with the rest of the things on this list, which are things that are scientifically proven to help you fill this tank of meaning, which is core to us feeling regulated and good. So that leads us to engage in what the scientists call pro-social behavior, which means just hanging out with people. So much of human meaning comes from relationships, connection with others. Helping other people happens to be like a very potent fuel for this sense of meaning and purpose. And for the introverts out there, it doesn't have to be like a heart-to-heart, hour-long conversation with somebody. It can be like going to an event where there's a bunch of other people. Group rituals, festivals, sporting events, concerts,
yes, like joining the
rallies.
clan.
These are a fast track to feeling some kind of collective meaning.
That's why they did it back in the day.
Beings. I think other animals like
they didn't want to be bored,
and pets also can fulfill a version of this as
I
well.
want a cat again, bro. I low-key kind of miss
my
cat.
A platform where you can find different communities and meetups, as well as this cool blog post of 99 ways to find IRL community. Okay, the next one. Get creative. Humans are artistic, creative beings. And turns out that being creative, making stuff, fills our tank. And as the science says,
might have to get into building cars again, chat.
Uniquely placed to be more creative,
might be the
to think differently than we normally do. The literature talks a lot about like mastery and practice, like practicing piano every day. That's a little high effort for this. I'm more so thinking low effort, low cost, like high reward creativity. Cook something. Do some like basic crocheting or knitting, origami, adult coloring books, mood boards, collages, finger painting. Like it doesn't have to be good. No one has to see it. But the act of making something is
I told y'all, bro, creating art and being creative is like a very key part.
The next one is
near
near to my heart, which is get curious. Curiosity and enthusiasm.
Yes, I need to learn how to swim and go surfboard on my surfboard.
For me, besides my family, this is like where I get most of my meaning in life. Nerding out about stuff. There's this quote from Andy Warhol. You need to let the little things that would ordinarily bore you suddenly thrill you. Easier said than done, Andy.
Wow.
But like try to find things that light you up. Whether it's like obsessing over the specs of trains in Europe,
are the best.
or looking into how ants build ant colonies, whatever. Finding something that you can nerd out about and obsess over can be really good for meaning and a cure for boredom. Going down the old Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Why is he eating chips with a fucking...
And a cure for boredom. Going down the old Wikipedia rabbit hole.
What is going on here? Okay, now when I say people just be trying to flex too hard, bruh, he's just doing too much, bro. Just doing too much. Just eat your fucking chips with your hands. Why do you need chopsticks to eat? You just doing too much, bruh. You just trying to fucking aura farm, bro. I don't like this. He's clip farming me.
Works every time. If you cultivate this enough, you get access to like the inverse of boredom, which is called flow, where you are so deeply engrossed in what you are learning or doing that you kind of forget everything. It's like your attention and meaning are just on like turbo drive, and you can kind of just go for hours. Okay, next one is going outside. This is again well documented in the literature. Wandering through a forest does wonders to our sense of awe and perspective and meaning. You're also moving your body and going through a walk in nature. And often you can find activities that blend a bunch of these. Like if you go out bird watching or something with somebody else, you are doing the social thing, you are doing the nerd out about something thing, and you're doing like the go on a walk in nature thing. Go to a painting class. You're doing mastery and practice, but you're also doing creativity. You're also doing social. So anyway, all of this is in the guide, in the description. And I also want to kind of hear from all of you, like, what does boredom feel like for you? And what do you do when you are bored? I would love the comment section to turn into a discourse around the experience of boredom for different people. So please do that. So I just want to finish by re-emphasizing what we started with, which is that boredom is not bad. It is a very natural cue that our body has given us to spur us to action, to let us think about what is meaningful in our lives, and to help us assess our story through life. And in this world where meaning is not made for us like the old days, and we have these phones that kind of sabotage our ability to sit with ourselves, learning to sit with and accept boredom is a skill. It is one that you must practice if you want to leverage its benefits. So I know that this story has been quite impactful for me in how I approach my bored moments, and I hope it can do some version of the same for you. And I really look forward to hearing from all of you down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
W video, Mr. Johnny Harris. Look. That was a very, very informational video.